Hey everybody, it's Eugene Liscio here and welcome to Click 3D. This is the program where we talk about photogrammetry and how you can use your digital camera to create 3D models. Now today I'm going to be trying something that may sound very simple, but it's creating a model of these walls back here. Now if you're using a program like Metashape or 3ds Zephyr and you're using the automatic reconstruction to make like a point cloud and then a mesh, this is actually an extremely challenging project, and it may not seem like it because it seems like something very simple. But the bottom line and the challenge, the reason why it's challenging is because it lacks texture. Plain white walls are probably one of the most difficult things to do, or any flat textured surface. So if I want to reconstruct these walls, the ceiling and this sort of box type shape, I'm really not going to be able to do it using something like, Agisoft, Metashape, or something like that. And it has nothing to do with the software. It has to do with just the way photogrammetry works. So I've actually put up some tape here on this side, and then I have a couple that are in between here. So I'll explain why I have those up there in a minute, but these parts here where there's high contrast, okay, here, you're going to find that they will reconstruct pretty well. You might even get the corners and things like that reconstructing okay. But what is going to happen is you're going to get these areas that are just open and there's nothing there. These are freshly painted walls, so unfortunately, the reconstruction is just not going to work out all that great. Now, I'm going to be using a program called Photomodeler, and Photomodeler is a comprehensive photogrammetry package. It will do 3D models and make point clouds and things like that, but it also gives you the ability to manually mark points. And so what I can do here is I can mark a point up in this corner. I can mark a point up where the tape meets this corner here. I can go all the way down, hit the corner there, and basically with 4 points, I can create a plane. So, of course, you have to assume that, what is in between those 4 points is flat, but these walls are generally flat, and I can be okay with that. And of course, the walls don't have to be at 90 degrees to each other either. So for example, this wall and this wall is at a weird angle. It's not even 45 degrees. And, we'll be able to get 4 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, and create a plane there. So that's the basic idea and what I'm going to do. And if I want to scale this, then I'm going to need some kind of a reference. So I've already taken a measurement up from this corner down, and it's 197 centimeters. So based on that, I can scale this whole thing and then check other measurements, like for example, this little one in between here. Now, there are some limitations with doing it this way, and that is, just for example, like right here. If I want to make a plane in this area right here, I have a problem. And the reason is I've got a point here. I've got a point in the corner. I can probably get this point right here. But when I go back over here, I don't have anything that will tell me that, I need to stop sort of square to the location here. So I may need to put another piece of tape here so that I can mark it. And if I wanted to build this face, I probably would put some tape up here and then stop it that way. Now, if I was trying to get the entire wall, I'd back off and get a wide angle lens and then try to pick off all the corners. But I'm just doing this with tape just to show you I can do it on a smaller section, but the principles would still be the same. Now, I will be doing this pretty much manually. So it's going to be, picking points on different photographs. So I won't take a lot of photographs. I'll probably just use about 4 of them. But there are some more automated ways to do this. And so one of them is by using these particular targets here. And these are automatically detected targets, and there's a whole bunch of these that you can use. There's even different types where there's 2 of these which are sort of beside each other, and then there is an offset. So basically you'll have like 2 of them, and then the program will know that the offset is 50% of the distance, and you can make it a corner marker. So basically you can have 1, 2 targets, and then based on the offset distance, it would figure out where the corner was. And I'm not going to be doing it that day, but I just want you to know that there are some automated ways to collect this kind of data if you need to do so. Now, in terms of the photographs, if I'm going to be doing this manually, few photographs, maybe 4 or 5 or 6, but we're going to try it in Metashape, Agisoft Metashape, and we're going to see what happens. It's not a fair test, but it's important to see it fail or where it works and where it doesn't work. Now, you can probably predict wherever I have high contrast between the tape and white, it can kind of figure out where things are. These corners, that will probably reconstruct well. But in terms of, other areas that are like just plain white areas, they're not going to do very well. So they'll probably fail. You may have a lot of holes and you'll probably have a lot of noise as well. So I'm going to grab my camera and let's give this a go. Okay, so I've got my camera here. This is a Nikon D7100 and I've got an 18-70 lens on here. So I am going to use a wide angle so I can get as much of this as possible. And I'll take a few photos just for the manual part, and then I'll add a few extra photos to do it automatically with Agisoft Metashape. Now, in terms of taking photographs, I'm going to try and pick up as much of the entire area as possible. I'm not going to focus in on one particular area or the other, and that's just to kind of keep things simple. But I could, for example, take pictures of just the bottom and that sort of thing. And if I capture part of the floor, you'll actually see the floor reconstruct really, really well in Metashape, and then it just kind of disappears where the wall is. I've done this before, so I know what happens. So let me go ahead, take the photographs, and then we'll go process these on the computer. Okay, so I took the photos, didn't take very long at all, and I was using an automatic mode with no flash. There's enough light in here and everything's white, so I'm getting decent exposure, whatever. Because I'm doing this manual too, I'm not worried about depth of field or anything like that. Although my camera was set at ISO 100, so I was down pretty low. I should get pretty clean images. So let's go process these and see what happens. Okay, well, I'm at my desk here at the computer, and I'm just going to open up some of these images and I'll show you what I've got going on here. So I took a few of these where I want to get the overall, corners and the tape, and I'm going to keep going here. So here's another one. I'll rotate that. Another one, and then another one, and then another one. And you'll see that I got part of the floor, but I'm trying to get the extents of the tape and the corners and that sort of thing. And then what I did was I took some just for the floor, or mostly for the floor. So you got 1, 2, and then 3. So I'm not going to use all of these when I do it manually, but I did take the extra photos so that I can put this into Agisoft Photoscan. So the basic workflow here with Photoscan is going to be dragging the photos in. Okay, so the basic process is dragging and dropping these photos in. So I'm just going to do that like this, and then this shows here there's got some cameras. Then I'm going to go to workflow and we're going to align these, and I'm just going to use medium and source and just go okay, that's fine. And it should start to come together and detect some points. So once this is done, I'll come back. It shouldn't take too long. Okay, so that just took a minute, but I've got all of these photos oriented, but the problem is here is what it was able to reconstruct. And if you look, you'll see right where the tape was here, and there's electrical there. It did okay, and maybe some up top here where the corners are, but you'll notice down here where the tiles are, right? Really, really good reconstruction. And that's because it just has texture. So this is a good start, but hey, let's see if we can make those walls happen for us. And we'll build a dense point cloud, and we'll just choose medium. I'll let that cook here, and as soon as that's done, we'll come back and I'll let you have a look. Okay, well, I'm just looking here and it didn't do a whole heck of a lot above this particular portion. And it could be because there's a bounding box or some kind of a limit on this thing. So I'm just going to double check this and then come back and try it again. Yeah, sure enough, when I turned on the region here, you'll see that I've just made it larger. But whenever you get a very clean edge like this and it doesn't create anything above, it probably means that something is being excluded. So I just expanded this and made it a little bit bigger, including the top here. In fact, I'm going to go a little bit bigger on this part here just so I don't miss out on anything. And that should include the top, and we just need to do that again. So I'm going to build a dense cloud and let's see what it does. It shouldn't take too long at all. Okay, so it just did the dense cloud, and this is more along the lines of what I was looking at. You'll see that all the edges were detected, the corners, and where the tape is here and here. This really explains it, or tells you exactly what's happening wherever you have sort of these in-between areas that are just white. You don't get anything from these particular regions. Just to be fair, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up 3ds Zephyr and I'm going to try the same thing and see what we get. Okay, we're going to run through the exact same process here, and I'm just going to put these images in and have them run. I'm going to have close range, and I'm just going to set it to default. And let's run this thing. So it's going to detect the key points on these particular images, and we'll find out if it's able to reconstruct all of these images and sort of understand where they are in 3D space. And after that, we'll jump in, do the dense point cloud, and I have a feeling we'll probably get the same thing. So they've all found the position of the cameras, no problem. And when I look here, you'll see that I have the ground just like we did before, and I do have points that are up top here. Okay, just like that. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm just going to set the ground plane because otherwise it gets difficult to navigate. Okay, there we go. And you'll see that I've got a few of these markers and such. Now, so I don't make the same mistake I did before, I am going to check the bounding box, and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that this is set up so I get the corner, and I may even square this up a bit so we get the corner like that. And let's see, that's okay, that's okay. And a bit more on this side. I think this is high enough, which should be okay. And I'm just going to pull this out a bit more. Okay, let's try to make a dense cloud here, and let's see what we get. And let's see if we end up with the same thing as we did in Metashape. There we go. And oh, I need to switch back. I had something else on before, close range and default. And let's hit run and let's see what happens. So I'll let this cook for a second and I'll come back when it's over. Well, not surprisingly, you can see that we've gotten all the edges and the corners again, and definitely where the tape is. So lots of noise though where the wall is, and that was the same in Metashape. You're going to get a lot of these straight points and stuff like that. So let's go and try this in Photomodeler and let's see what we can do. Alright, so I just opened up Photomodeler here, and I'm going to start a new project, and this is going to be a manually marked project. Okay, there's nothing automatic about this one. This is rock bottom, bare bones, where you just have to get in there and do some stuff by brute force. So I'm going to be opening up the images, and I am going to be choosing this one, and this one. I'm only going to be working with 3 images, and that's good enough. And I'm going to go next. Now, in this case, I'm just going to use what's called an EXIF camera. So it's basically going to pull the information out of the JPEG headers, and it will know roughly what my focal length was and my camera and that sort of thing. So now if you have a fully calibrated camera, which I do, I could go in and just say it's a calibrated camera and it's in my library. But I'm actually going to just use the EXIF camera, because if you do it the first time, that's probably that will probably be what you have. So what I'm going to do here is I've got these 3 images. So let me open them up. Just double click them all. I could actually open them all up at once. And the first thing is that they're all kind of sideways, which kind of stinks. So I'm going to select these all, and I'm going to go properties of selected photos, and I'm going to rotate these 90 degrees so that I don't have to deal with sideways images. and like that, and now we get a view of everything. So looking at these, yeah, the photos look pretty good. I can make out all these corners and stuff like that. So the basic process starting from here is that I need to mark and reference the same points in all three photographs. So what I'm going to do is I could just do points, or I can do lines, and I will probably just do lines just so you can visually see what I'm connecting here. So basically how this is going to work is I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to use the shortcut key 4, and I'm going to click right here at the intersection of the wall and the tape. So I just went just above there. Now I'm going to be doing this quickly, so normally I would go in and use a lot more care, but for the purposes of this tutorial, I think it'll be okay. I may not get great results, but I'll get where I need to be, and you'll get the idea. That's what really matters. So I'm just going to start connecting these, and you'll see I'm going to go to the top here, the corner. I'm going to go up here, and you see this is a really good example of where it helps to have some kind of an indicator or helper or tape or something like that. So I'm having a hard time trying to figure out where that corner is, but I'll come back maybe and I'll adjust it later. So I'll do that, and I'll restart a line from here to here, and then I'll do one from here to here. Now let me just have a look. So that's clearly not correct. So I'm just going to switch and move this because it has to line up with the tape. I know that for sure, because that was right on the edge. So that's good, and this one looks pretty good too, but I need to move that over. So having a few little helpers is beneficial for sure. So that's much better. Okay, now we're going to do the top here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue drawing lines somewhere up here, 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 down to the corner. And I'll finish this off like that and like this. All right, and I'll connect these. Okay, and I can also connect these two. Why not? It'll make a plane, like it'll make a surface. Now you'll see here, this is what I was talking about before. I should have put a piece of tape up here if I wanted to complete this one, but there's enough here that I think you can see what I'm doing, and you can kind of get the idea. Also at the bottom here, this is the baseboard. So the baseboard is a little different because it actually comes out further. So I would need to draw some lines here, but just for the heck of it, maybe I'll draw the some tiles on the floor. I'll just make a few points here like this, and then I'll go here in this corner like this, and I'll have to pick one that I gotta call it quits on. So I'll do this one, and maybe I'll just pick, oh boy. What am I going to do? Well, actually, I can close it like this in a triangle. Maybe I'll just do that. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, now to repeat the process. So I'm basically going to be doing the exact same thing over here. And I'm not going to let you sit through this whole thing and watch me do this. It's kind of boring. So I'll stop the video, and then I'll come back when it's all done. Okay, so I now have the photographs marked with the points, and I've created a little surface on the ground here, and I've got, you know, all the corner or the intersections identified. So one of the things I can do is I can actually turn on IDs, and you'll see that all these points have unique numbers on them. Okay, so what I need to do now is reference them, and to reference them, what I need to do is get into referencing mode. That's R, and if I click on a point here and then another point here and the same point here, so I'm picking the same point in the same place, you'll see that they've all been referenced, so they're given the same number. And that's what I'll need to do. Now there is something called automatic processing. So there's a little guy down here, and he's standing now. I shut him off, but normally in Photomodeler, he's on by default. He's in sort of a running position, and that will automatically process. I don't know if it's just an old habit, but I tend to shut that off. And then once you get enough points marked, you can then go in and just process yourself. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to get enough points marked. I may just mark them all, and then you'll see where we get into some problems here. Actually, let me see here. That's 19. That's 19 here. Okay, so now 19 is done. So let me do this one up here. There is there is there. And you can see it's pretty quick to do. It's not too bad. This one is this one, is this one. Now I can't get around in this particular photo, but that's okay. So long as I've got it in at least 2. So you'll see here I only have 2, even this corner. Well, this corner I've done already. This outer corner I should have in all 3. Okay, but 2 is pretty much the minimum. Once you're down a 2, that's pretty bare bones. So you should try to get 3 wherever possible. So I just got a little, not a warning, but just a little reminder that says, hey, you know, you got enough points marked that you can process this if you want. So I just ignore that. And once I get them all marked the way I want, then I will process the project. So almost there. Got this one, and this one. And then I think I'll just, I got this corner here. So 27 is done, but it's not here. So I'll do that one there. And I'm just going to do the ground here where all the tiles are. So there, there, there. Now, I've been doing this pretty quick, so I don't expect my error to be fantastic or low. So this is going to be a fairly high error. And, you know, by really going in and adjusting these things properly and making sure that they're at very discrete locations, then you're going to get a much better result. So here, these look like they're all referenced. That's the reference image. These are all referenced, and that's all referenced. So now I'm going to process. And to do that, I'm just going to bring up the processing menu, which is F5, and I'm just going to do the basic process. Okay, and it says, hey, you got a big error here. There's something going on. So huge error. So something happened where I've probably mismarked something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out what happened here. And I've got the line, so it's telling me 44. It's this line there, and when I go down here, yeah, no kidding, it's marked. So this 44 is incorrect. You can see I've marked the wrong tile. So 44 needs to come back here, and then I'll process again. I've only got this in a couple of images, so I've incorrectly marked this particular point here. So what I can do is I can either move these 2 back, which I may do. I may just move those over here, just for this, yeah, right there, and then I'll move this one back. Now there should be closer. So I'm going to try and reprocess this again. That's one nice thing about photogrammetry is it tells you when you've got some kind of mistake. And now it's telling me that this point here is problematic. So let's find out what we did here. So this is on this wall, and that's there. So it's probably not in the exact same spot that it needs to be. This looks like it's a little bit further over to me. So it probably needs to be over there somewhere. You can see the dilemma here about moving points and then trying to refine it. So it's telling me down here that I've got 5 pixels of error. My maximum error is like 5 pixels somewhere. And whenever you're doing a project like this, you can't expect to get your errors down to like 1 pixel. I mean, you can if it's very discrete and if you have points which are marked really well, then it's not, you know, too much of a problem. But again, I'm going to live with this. Otherwise, I'll be, you know, refining it and tweaking it, and it's going to be very difficult to do so because it's very, very hard to tell where all these corners are. But in effect, what it's done is it's created all these lines in 3D. So if I go into 3D mode, and I'll bring this back in, it's in a floating panel here. Actually, let me see if I can bring it into this window. And all right, it'll come up. Actually, let me close the photo window and let me adjust this. Okay, so now you'll see that I've got the beginning of a model here, and it looks pretty good. Now this is not scaled, and it's not oriented or anything like that. I haven't told it which way is up or X, Y, Z or whatever. So we will do that because we got this nice corner here that we can do that with. And also I had the scale here, which was on the side, and that was 197 centimeters. So let's do a couple of things here, and let's start creating surfaces. So in order to do surfaces, that's number 5 is the shortcut. And all I need to do is start clicking on the individual lines. So like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and that should finish it. And I'm going to do the same over here. 1, 2, 3. Could actually finish it there, but that's fine. 1, 2, 3, and the center. I'm going to finish that one. I need to do this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's the surface. I'll do these ones up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. This part here. Okay, and got the bottom done. That's great. And let's do the floor here. And you'll see that I can do this all in 3D now. I don't have to go into the photos and start picking all of these areas. So just go like that. Now, I didn't do the baseboard. I could go back and start drawing lines there and that sort of thing. But like I said, I think you get the basic idea. All right, so I've got all the surfaces. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a scale, and then I'm going to do the orientation. So basically get the axis aligned and everything else. So let's do that. What I'm going to do is, if I go to the Create tab here, there's a Scale Rotate wizard. So I'm going to open that up, and that'll do pretty much everything that I need to do here. So it says, what units do I want to use? So I'll use centimeters. It was 197, and then I'm going to go Next. And it says, well, what are you going to use? Well, I'm going to use this line here between these 2 points, go Next, and it basically defined the scale. Now it says, do you want to continue with the axis and the rotations and stuff? I'm going, yep, yes I do. So now it says, which one is your X? And I'll say, I'll tell you what, I'll make this my X over here, this line. Actually, it's going to have me do it again here. I'll go this my X, yep, which is my Z. I'll say that this one here is my Z. So I always do that. Let me click the line and then go finished. Okay, so the model just jumped, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the view, and now I'm looking at it from the top down. And what I'm going to do though here is I am going to turn on let me go back in here. Actually, let me go into the settings. I want to turn on a little axis that on the model and such, so that I can see what I'm doing. So there you go. There's my X, Y, Z. So I'm looking straight down the Z axis. I'm going to rotate this around. Okay. Oh, actually, you know what? I made a mistake. I defined it the opposite way. So I apologize about that. So I may need to do that again, because right now it looks like it's upside down. So let me change that again. I can go, there's different ways to do this. Okay, what I have to do is in the imports and coordinates, that's what I'm looking for here. Okay, so I've got to rotate over here. So now it says the Z, bottom to top. So I'm going to click on that. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this point down here, and I'm going to go 0.23 to 0.16, and then go, that's what I want. Now let that just reset. Let me reset it. Okay, let's see if this makes more sense now. All right, there we go. Now the Z is pointing up in the right direction, and I've got the right scale. So let me close some of these windows. Let me even close that, so I just have the 3D view now. And I'll bring open the measurement window so that we can do some measurements here. And you can see that when I have this line selected, it's 197 centimeters. So what I want to do now is I want to mark between the two tape marks that we had in the photographs, right? So if I go here and open up one of these images, let me expand this a bit. I don't need the measurement tool again. I'll need it later. So what I can do now is I can create a point here, and I can create a point here, and I can measure between them. So I'll just do the a line, let's say, from here and then to here and draw. Okay, great. So now what I need to do is mark and reference points in the other images, right? Because otherwise it's not going to know where the heck I'm pointing to. So if I take that and I reference, and let me go here, it's still in the marking mode, reference mode. Here we go. So now you see that a line comes up. It says, hey, it should cross somewhere over here. Well, that's good. So it gave me that one. And I'll do one more over here. I should probably do it in 3, but that's okay. I'll just go over here, and you'll see this one crosses very close to the intersection here too. All right, so now I've got a line. Now let me look over here. Do I see the line? Yes, I do see the line. If I go to the measurement tool and I click on this line, okay, it's going to tell me that this is, sorry, I got a bit of real estate issues here. is the distance is 59.668, and that is pretty cool because when I measured it I had 59.7, so not too bad in terms of accuracy. It's pretty close. Okay, one last thing to do here, and that is to add the texture. So I have all these surfaces. One of the things that I can do is project the images and the photos that I took onto these surfaces. Now everything is kind of white, but I do have tape and stuff like that, so we can give that a try. Okay, so let's do that. All right, so there's different ways to do it. If I go to create, there are different surfaces here. There's like materials and that sort of thing. So one of them is the surface default. Okay, and then you can edit it. You can do some different things. So you can make your own materials or whatever. Another way here is to go to the visibility tab, and if I go to the surfaces or whatever, I can go to quality textures, and when I click on that, it's going to go back to the images and it's going to start to calculate some things. So you can see my little wheel spinning there. It's pulling some texture from the photographs, and then you'll see that it maps it onto the surfaces here. So you'll see I've got the little tape marks here where I took the measurements from in place, and then I also have the tiles that are projected onto this plane which is on the ground. So this is pretty much all that I wanted to show here, and it really just goes to show you that using a program like Photomodeler, you can recover information that would have been very difficult to do in another program. And so just by marking and referencing points, you can create a model or a surface, and this is now scaled, it's accurate, and I can export this as a different type of model into a different program. That's it for this episode of Click 3D. I want to say thanks everybody. Have a good one, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.